So I'd like to take a couple minutes and just talk about some of the research I do. My research is anchored in quantitative methods, measurement, and a lot of survey research. Really, I would call myself a measurement specialist. And what I tend to discuss is both that I like to look at how things are being mismeasured and if we're using the right tools to measure things that we set out to measure. So we have a lot of issues both in K-12 and higher ed that I give a lot of attention to. I talk a lot about how often we assess students in K-12 and the necessity of that and the quality of the tools that we're using, and then how we're using the information we get out, because it doesn't make much sense to give a student a test if we're not going to do anything with the information that we get from that. So I do a lot in really looking at what is the question that we're trying to answer, and does this measurement tool do that? And then once we have the information, is it useful? And if not, why are we doing this at all? And then in the second, in kind of the higher ed level, I've spent a lot of research time on looking at course evaluations, the way we evaluate our teaching, the input that different parties have, and again, the way it's listened to. Because what I find consistent in all measurement is if we're measuring and we're not using it, then the utility of it really is goes to waste. People don't apply it, they don't use it. And so we need to, as I said, make sure that if we're passing out a course evaluation, that those completing it value it, that they know how we're going to use the information, and that it's measuring correctly. And what I've found in a lot of my research is we have too many items on these, that the students that are completing these evaluations are confused whether it's a faculty or a teacher item, or if it's a course item, or if it's a book item. And we're not very clear in this. And this happens across the whole world. And I always say, all you have to do is turn on the TV to see measurement issues on the news every single night. You can sit there and say, well, that's not really what that said. And if you ever find yourself saying that's not what should happen, I tend to argue that someplace in there that there's a measurement question.